Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book 20 Years of Internet Humor, no other than Mr. Bill Williams.
Daniel, thank you for the invitation.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Bill, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Well, I've been a writer for probably 60 years, but I've also been a filmmaker and a university professor. And the last 30 years, I've been a financial advisor here in the Midwest of the U.S. How I got started with the book is the fact that back in the 90s, there was this new thing out called the internet. Nobody really knew what it could do. And they also didn't know anything about email. If we wanted to
Yes.
keep in touch, we had to carry a pager and a pocket full of quarters and look for a payphone.
Hmm.
So everybody had email, but they never read it. So I started sending out a thought for the day, typically something humorous, something interesting. And it worked. They started reading their email and we could keep in touch.
Hmm.
And then from that point on, they started sharing some of these emails with their clients. And the clients said, "Hey, can we get on the list too?" And then, like Topsy, it just grew to where I had people all over the US, in Asia, in Australia, and Europe also on this list of people getting my thought for the day. And then a couple of years ago, I realized that I had several thousand of these thoughts piling up in my computer. And I said, why don't we try doing something with it? And took it to a publisher and said, this might make a good book. And they said, well, this would make a great series of books. So the first came out January 1st, 20 Years of Internet Humor, Volume 1. And we'll have volumes 2 and 3 out hopefully before the end of the year. And we'll keep going from there.
Mr. Bill Williams, thank you so much for sharing your humor to the world. Thank you so much. So, what are some of the most iconic internet memes or jokes covered in this book?
Oh, there are literally thousands of them, but just a couple, for example, a story about animal crackers. And Jennifer and her young son Jimmy had just come back from the store, grocery store, and Jimmy grabbed the bag of groceries and went into the kitchen and opened the box of animal crackers and started spreading them all over the counter. And Jennifer says, Jimmy, what are you doing? And he said, well, when we bought the box of animal crackers, it said, don't eat if the seal is broken. So I'm looking for the seal.
Wow. Amazing. So how has internet humor evolved over the past 2 decades?
I can't really say that it's evolved too much because we still keep getting the same kinds of jokes, but they all have a different twist as the years go by. And it's interesting to see because in the book, with every article that I publish not only who submitted it to me, but when it actually appeared. So in this first book, we have uh, we have jokes from 2005 up to 2023 and everywhere in between. And I'll keep doing that so that you can put them into perspective. So, for example, when we have a story about what's happening with the president, the chances are almost 100% that it's not with the current president. It's somebody maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Mm, amazing. So how you're planning to do the volume 2? What would be the difference from volume 1?
Basically, just different stories. It's one of those kinds of books where you can pick it up and read for 30 seconds or a couple minutes and put it down and then pick it up and read it again when you're ready to kill some time. Use it before you go to bed or just leave it on the coffee table for people to pick up and read because every page is different and never takes more than 2 or 3 minutes to read the full story. So, and they're all different. So it's just something that continues to change every day.
So Mr. Bill, are there any memes or trends from the early internet that are still relevant today?
Uh, Yes, as a matter of fact, I was just working on one that I got from clear back in 2005, and it's a series of bumper stickers on retirees. And every one of them is still just as relevant today as they were then. On the other hand, when COVID came out, we got a whole series of memes that were all totally directed towards COVID. And I guess about a couple weeks ago, I ran several of those to remind people of what it was like back then.
So, what role do social media platforms play in shaping modern internet humor?
Boy, that's a tough question. Basically, I think one of the things that it does is gives me a lot more material because people see things on social media and send me versions of it. And sometimes I get several different versions from several different people and can possibly put them together and make one even more interesting one.
Definitely. Very well said. Mr. Bill, very well said. So, do you think internet humor reflects broader social and cultural changes?
Oh, no question about it. And that's basically because almost anything I put out, I'm going to find somebody who doesn't like it. And every now and then I get an email back saying, "This is terrible. Take me off your list. Don't send me anything else." Okay, not a problem, because I know everything that I do is not going to appeal to everybody. And a lot of these jokes are jokes that men love and women hate. You know,
Yes.
but then I'll send out another one that women love and men hate. So we try to play equal.
Yes. Equal, and you cannot please everybody. So, what are the some strategies or most unexpected internet trends you've come across?
That is a question that I truly don't have an answer for because when I'm on the internet, I I frankly have not been a big user of social media myself.
Mhm.
And I just see that right now the big trend seems to be of people either pro or against the current administration and what they're doing, and they're getting more and more strident in what they're saying.
Truly, nowadays. So, what are the some underrated or lesser known internet jokes that deserve more recognition?
Well, I've got one that's been very popular, and it's not really a joke, but it's just a look back, 20 or 30 years. And it was a cold December day, and this woman was walking down the street, and as she was passing a shoe store, she saw a little boy staring in the window, and she happened to notice he wasn't wearing any shoes. And she said to him, "Are you okay? What are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, I'm just looking here, and I was praying to God if I could get some shoes." And so she thought, I can do something about this. And so she took him by the hand and took him into the shoe store and asked the sales clerk to get her a basin of water and a towel. And they went to the back of the store, and she knelt down and wiped his feet off and cleaned them up and dried them off. And he got a bundle of socks, and she put a couple socks on him. Said, "Now let's find a shoe that this will fit this boy." And he brought some shoes, and they found a shoe that was just fine. And she put the shoes on him and gave him the whole bundle of socks and said, "I think you'll be a lot warmer now, and I hope this works out for you." And as she turned to go, he looked up at her and he said, "Are you God's wife?"
Oh, nice one, Mr. Bill. Nice one. So, what do you think, or how do you think people are so drawn to memes and online humor?
That's the thing. Okay. I remember when I was a kid, and that was a long time ago, we had the same kinds of jokes being passed around. I lived on a military base as a child. And I remember my dad would come home with a piece of paper which was probably the seventh carbon that somebody made in a typewriter, and it was a joke on it. And people were passing these jokes around that were, six and seven and eighth carbons, which you could barely read. But now we don't have to do that. We've got copy machines, we've got the internet, and it's not anything new. It's just a new use of technology to get the humor out there.
Certainly. So, how does internet humor help people cope up with difficult solutions?
I don't really know that it does, but my whole goal, because everybody needs some humor in their life, and I
Yes.
send the thought out overnight. And so that when people get up in the morning, they can turn their computer on and find a reason to smile. Okay. And I've been doing it for 30 years and it's always been free. Yeah, I've never charged a dime for the internet, and people can still get my thought for the day. Go to bill at WG or bill at internet-humor.com and you can start getting the thought for the day. But it's just a way of giving the people that I send these out to a reason to smile, or at least start the day with a smile. And then it can go downhill from there, but at least they started with a good place.
Certainly. So, what are some common themes in online humor across different generations?
Oh, once I get through with these volumes, I'll probably start putting out books that are all on one subject. And
Yes.
we've got aging. There's always jokes on people getting older,
Mm.
on marriage, on the fight between men and women, jokes about kids and the stories that the kids have. Sports, I could do a whole book on just golf. Okay, so the nice part about it is the fact that uh, pick a subject and there's jokes about it. And there are a lot of jokes that I try not to use. Sexual jokes and jokes that look down upon a group of people, or those are just not in the book, and they're not going to be in the future.
Why not? I think people love sexual jokes.
I know they do, but the problem is, this is not an adult book, and an awful lot of
Uh,
people get upset if, oh, that's not suitable for my child, and if
mhm.
this is sitting on somebody's coffee table, I don't want them to be offended by it. And yes,
Certainly.
I could put out a whole bunch of, X-rated volumes, but it's not high on my list right now. I've got enough good ones.
Let's say volume 12, X-rated jokes. So, so do you think,
Probably be a big seller.
yes, it will be a big seller. So do you think humor on the internet has become more sophisticated or more chaotic?
Well, I certainly wouldn't say it was more sophisticated. Chaotic works out very well. I wouldn't have thought to use that word, but I think in so many cases, I think it's being simplified down for the lowest common denominator, and
Certainly.
it's taking it all the way down to the bottom in some cases.
So, Mr. Bell, how has the rise of AI and automation influenced meme creation and humor?
Well, I would say AI probably makes creation of memes much easier and probably more sophisticated appearing. I have not used it. I have not looked into it. I've got all I can handle just using the old way. I still have a typewriter on my desk, so it tells you where I'm coming from.
That's awesome. Traditional. So, Mr. Bill, what will be your advice for those people out there who want to write their humor and spread jokes to the world?
Absolutely. If you have something funny, share it with people. Okay. Share it with me. I can always use more material. Send it to me, and you'll get credit
Yes.
for it. But uh, it let's face it, they have found jokes dating back thousands and thousands of years. Jokes are not something new, they've been around forever, And the caveman probably had some form of a joke to tell too. They just didn't have a way of writing it down so that we know about it.
Certainly. Laughter is the best medicine, people. So laugh,
That
laugh,
is a
laugh.
great topic. The Reader's Digest has been using that as a topic for years.
Yes, definitely. Can you make volume 20 instead, and make that caption? Laughter is the best medicine. So, Mr. Bill, what will be your short term and long term goals in writing?
Well, once I get through with the series on books, I've got a couple other books that I plan to write. I've got one that's in the works about my experience 20 years in Washington, D.C. as a contractor. And I think that could be a very interesting book, too. I know it is because I'm halfway done with it, but
It
I don't
is.
plan to get it out there until these humor books are done, one thing at a time.
Yes, and you are most welcome to come back on Book One One Review and let's talk about it. So, what are some of the biggest internet pranks from the past 20 years?
I'm not sure what that question was. I'm sorry. We had
Biggest,
audio glitch
yes.
there.
So, what are the some of the biggest internet pranks from the past 20 years?
Uh, Boy, you're throwing me curveballs there because I think one of the things that I would have to say is an awful lot of political humor that is, I won't say stretching a point, but it's just made up. It's things that didn't actually happen, but people have been putting it out there, and causes a lot of people to laugh. But it's being what is causing the laugh is not something that ever actually happened, and that's unfortunate. I don't go in for that sort of thing.
Okay. And how do different online communities develop their own unique sense of humor?
Oh, I think an awful lot of that is with cultural backgrounds and economic backgrounds, and also in the U.S. North and South. Uh, I've lived in the North, I've lived in the South, I've lived in the West, and all of those different areas have different types of jokes that they share. And I use a lot of them in my book and my thoughts for the day. But you can tell, for example, that boy, this one is from the deep South with the terminology and everything that is being used. So yes, there's a lot of cultural differences and regional differences in humor.
Certainly. And what are some of the weirdest or funniest internet subcultures you have explored?
Well, I must admit, I haven't explored many subcultures. Let's face it, I'm one of these older generation, and I'm not looking for the new things that are out there. I'm just trying to keep in touch with things that I know about. So that is a great question for someone else.
So, Mr. Bill, can you share one more joke that you are that is inside the book itself?
Sure. Uh, One is a story about a new teacher. Uh, this gentleman retired from the military. He was a Marine Corps non-com, and he decided when he got out of the Marine Corps, he'd really like to be a teacher. So he got licensed and all. And his first job was at this school for relatively tough kids. And the principal, knowing that the guy was a former Marine, gave him the toughest group of kids around. And he was getting ready for it when he had an accident before the school started. And as a result of the accident, he had to wear a body cast. That was a thin one, and he could wear it under his shirt, and people didn't really see it. So he walked into this classroom this first day of school, and the kids knew he was a Marine, knew he was new, and they wanted to see what he was really like. And so it was late fall, the windows were open, and a breeze came up and started blowing papers around off his desk. It also blew his tie up in the air. And so he reached down, pulled his tie down, got the stapler off his desk, and stapled the tie to his chest. And at that point, they knew they really better not mess with this guy. And he had no problems with them for the rest of the year.
Good one, Mr. Bell. Good one. So, how do you see internet humor evolving in the next 10 years?
I don't think it's going to be evolving all that much. I just think that we're going to be seeing new ways of delivering it. Uh, because, in all honesty, some of the jokes that I am using, I have seen as a kid 50, 60 years ago. It's just they have slightly different terminology and slightly different delivery methods. And certainly the internet is a new delivery method, but the basic humor is still there. It's just the same subject. And quite frankly, since the Civil Rights Act of 1965, there have been a tremendous change in the way jokes are delivered because I remember some jokes that I've heard recently that I do remember hearing as a child, and the way it came out as a child would be socially and totally unacceptable these days. But the subject's the same. It's just a new version of it.
Yes, they evolve. So, Mr. Bill, before we wrap up our discussion, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, and it's fifth season, people. Fifth season with my partner, Mr. Chef Alessandro Panatoni, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. So please do listen to our latest episode. We are reading our letter senders all over the world. So, if you could bring back one internet trend or memes from the past, what would it be and why?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have visual ability to show you the memes that we have available right now. But from the past, uh, right now, I'm thinking of a number of jokes from uh, previous presidential administrations that have come out. And one, for example, was from George W. Bush. And we keep thinking about Biden, and people are saying he spent so much time on vacation. But I've got about 4 pages of jokes about Bush taking vacation. And the question was, when does he not take a vacation? And we think, hey, making jokes about the president's time off is new, but no, that's been going on for a long time. As a matter of fact, there were jokes about Roosevelt taking vacations.
Yes, certainly. Mr. Bill Williams, thank you for sharing your jokes to the world, and thank you for make us laugh, because laughter is the best medicine. And again, we are looking for more volumes of your internet humor. So can you please invite our listeners to support your book?
I would be delighted to. They can sign up for my thought for the day and get a free internet joke every day by going to bill at internet-humor.com.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Bill Williams, because if you support him, more volumes of internet humor to come. So, Mr. Bill, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate the opportunity.
More to come, people. See you soon. So I'm gonna